see them both playing like that on there. There's a lot of other features on that map that make it cool, like that tight, quick rush lane, but you get choked out of it pretty fast for the longer route. Game number 2 here on Dusk Towers. Let's see if Hurricane can start to engineer a comeback. What do you think, Wolf? Are we going to go to game 3, or is it going to be a 2-0?
I think it's going to be a 2-0, Tasus. I think it's going to be a 2-0.
Let's see what happens. This is game number 2. Stats against Hurricane in the SSL. Okay, we're on game number 2 here, and we will go ahead and introduce our players for you guys watching at home. In the bottom left, in the red, he's Stats.
And up here to the top, in blue, his opponent is Hurricane. I took that away from you. I don't know why I did that. Somebody came over me.
That's okay. We got these different styles at each of the casting stations, so I could see you automatically, going in. I guess just going into autopilot there.
Well, it's funny because I felt like I was a little bit late there, and I was like, oh god, I might miss it. And I think that's why I actually ended up doing it. But let's see how these guys play on this map. This map, I think, it's definitely a little bit of a slower map overall because you get that free backdoor expansion.
By the way, they're both going with mirror builds, at least for the time being. And yeah, let's see. One thing I'm asking myself personally is, will Hurricane do the Stalker opening again? The Adept has really changed the entire way that we view and understand Protoss. It's a very strong unit. In most cases, it would be silly not to get it. So let's see. Hurricane was telling us that he feels, at least on the previous map, that you can get as many, you can get a lot of Stalkers early on. You can still rely on that, that linchpin unit that was so common in Wings of Liberty and Heart of the Swarm. Whereas Stats was, interested in teching to what I think we're seeing most Protoss players try to play as here in PvP now.
Well, what was really fun about that last game was the disruptors. I think this matchup is quickly becoming my favorite because there's so much action going on constantly throughout the early to mid game stages, and then once you get to the late game, it just becomes this micro fest. Now, sometimes you see Stalkers blink over the disruptor shot. Sometimes they blink. The Stalkers are always most vulnerable after they've blinked for any reason. And what's cool is you can really actually see. This is my first time casting a PvP that went like that. The other PvPs I cast have been kind of like dying to all-ins or whatever, but when I watched that game, you can actually physically see on the screen how many Stalkers died to a disruptor shot. There's like a little silhouette of them before they've kind of vanished away. You can see 5 died there, 8 died there.
Yeah.
And you can really see the value of every shot.
The Adept rotating up now. And Stats, by the way, he's teching to that Stargate. We do see Stats also just checking for any kind of proxy, anything hidden. Of course, as we can see, there's nothing of the sort coming up here. Looks like the Adept, is actually going to go in once again and start trying to gun down some of these workers here.
All right, well, as you guys can see, the Adept this time doing a little bit more than it did last time, but not a whole lot, to be honest. Oh, it gets away this time, though. Shades out. And there's actually who's already targeted on that pro, but our big pull here.
Because we have these diverging builds going on, it's important to keep in mind that was some lost mining time there. In what was initially, they both opened up with a quick nexus. So that was pretty good that he slowed him down like that. I'm not sure if the Adept paid for himself. That's when you're getting into some pretty fuzzy math here. But pretty cool. He manages to do some damage to some probes while still getting back out.
Yeah, now blink on the way here for Hurricane. And Stats is going for that Robo a little bit later. Or I guess around the same time as Hurricane. I look at it just kind of skipping the blink entirely because he went for that Stargate tech.
He's going to poke it now with his Oracle.
He's just going to trade. Last game he did the same thing. He just tries to kill a probe and get out every time. And, eventually that ends up good for you.
Oh, nice, that's pretty sick. Especially when you're doing strats like this. As I was mentioning earlier, the Stalker doesn't attack that quickly, so it's not going to take that pilot out. And Hurricane just managing to secure this Nexus before his opponent, that's pretty huge.
That it is. Now, we're going to see with this faster Nexus, obviously it's going to cause Stats to have to pressure. Now looking at the text, I mean, Stats doesn't even have Blink, so it's going to be a little bit tough for him to actually come across the map here. But I think Hurricane's going to get a distinct advantage here for this early phase of the game. Now notice that Hurricane is adding a ton of gateways. Looks like he wants to try to kind of control the game early.
That camera shot of the audience.
That face. That's her face when she saw the Adept come across the map.
We are actually, I was wondering actually, when he made that pylon there, would it have been worthwhile to kill the pylon and make it look like he's expanding and then just do a 2-base timing attack and try to smash that base? That's what I would have done.
That's the tasteless way.
That's what I would have done. Tasteless, the greatest player of all time. That's what I would have done in that situation. But I'm just curious because, you know, the third base is pretty important. And just having it a little bit later and not being able to utilize the mining from it does put Hurricane in a pretty good position. And let's see what happens. He's just going to be kind of playing from a deficit for the time being.
Now, I've got some bad news for you guys at home. I'll try to say this as quickly as possible during this downtime of this game. I actually, because of the schedule time, changed today where we have 4 best-of-3s, which is, I think, best for the broadcast and the tournament. I actually have another broadcast I have to go to, like, right now. I have to leave in the middle of this and leave Hero, solo caster, Tasteless.
Tasteless will save esports.
To finish the broadcast. I wanted to finish this series, but I don't have enough time. But this will not happen for any of the future broadcasts. It's just for today. But I'm going to have to leave you to save esports, Tasteless.
All right, I'll take over here, Wolf. You have a good cast, man. Take it easy. And I will be solo casting this from here on out, guys. As the game goes on, remember, we did see that Stats, you know, he got that expansion a little bit later. He did seem, though, that he had overall better control than his opponent. So maybe he can use that to his advantage. This has been a bit more of a passive game coming up here. And we're going to see exactly what they got in store for us. Hurricane already getting that quick Nexus. Decides to go for the earlier 4th base, or at least that's what it looks like. He's got the probe over here. Stats now sitting out an Oracle. You know, if Hurricane does go for that quick Nexus there, it probably would be a good time then maybe for Stats to try to do that time and attack if he does scout it. Oracle could be coming up here, possibly trying to take out some probes. The Stalkers aren't in great position to take care of that. And we did see a Warp Prism headed southbound there. Currently parked over there in the bottom right. Here comes that Oracle in here now. And he opts instead to tag the army. I think that's pretty smart. And he's going to hallucinate these Phoenixes now and continue to scout around the map. There's the warp in. Not surprisingly, we're seeing Adepts here. And the 4th base for Stats is being taken as well. And let's see, it looks like he does have a cannon ready here, as well as a Mothership Core in good position. So I don't think this is going to be doing too much damage for the time being. And, oh my god, that range with the pickup is pretty good. As the game continues on, oddly enough, it's actually Hurricane who's going to be taking a little bit of a later Nexus here. Now moving down in position to defend it with the Disruptors coming out. And it also looks like he might be gearing up for a timing attack. Supplies are completely even. They could not be more even than this. Now with the Adepts, it looks like he's trying to bait him back, hopefully to move some of that army so it won't be able to defend that 4th base. Let's see if this timing attack is actually effective here for Hurricane. He comes up, but the angle not so good. Disruptors coming out here. Beautiful blink away, but he does connect with some of those sentries. Another warp in comes in. Rotating now around. He will have an observer here to try to spot for this. By the way, I believe Stats is going to be ahead here in the next attack upgrade, so he might want to just try to wait a few more seconds if he can. I think it's going to be a pretty bad move here from Hurricane to move in. But it looks like Hurricane's committing. He's got the Warp Prism coming up here. Disruptor now moving out a blink away. You can really see how this unit has completely changed the matchup. It's much more difficult to effectively engage. You got to skirt back constantly. Disruptor's rotating over here just to the right. Another warp in right now. 160 to apply, so to 161. 4 base versus 4 base. By the way, Hurricane has not transferred probes. We see on the mini map here. That's important. There we go. Just now getting those over there. But Stats, even though it seemed like he was a bit behind here to start, is doing just fine. He's in good shape. At this point in time, not clear if Hurricane's ever going to be able to engage here. If you note at the fourth base, there's a bottleneck would be the right term, but it's just a little bit tougher to get a good angle. Looks like he's going to commit, though. He's coming in here now. He's shoving with the disruptors and blink back onto the high ground. Nicely done. By the way, another Warp Prism is being made over here. Oh, my God! Oh, that was sick. That was the play he needed to have. And actually a blink on top here. Hurricane going for the jugular. Beautifully done. Disruptors now coming out. I don't think it's going to be enough. Stat. I mean, that just goes to show you how brittle this matchup can be. One misclick and you lose those key units, and that's basically game. He's now blinking on top, doing a ton of damage. Nicely done here. That is a face of a salty Protoss player right there. And I mean, I'm not sure if there's anything Stats can really do. He lost some pretty important units. He's actually been located away from that. Beautifully done so far here by Hurricane. I really like how he's doing it. He's coming up here now. GG, there you go. That is going to be game number 2, tying it up 1-1. So if you're wondering why it's still just me talking, we actually had a schedule conflict that we couldn't get anybody to sub in for. So Wolf was booked for both StarCraft today at one network, this network, and then World of Tanks at another network. So I am going to be solo casting here for you guys to finish out today. And it's just going to be you and me. Don't get to solo cast very often, but when I do, it's kind of fun. And let's see what happens now in game number 3. That was nicely done. I think whatever that talk was that Stork had with Hurricane turned out to be pretty effective. Let's see what we got in store for us now going into game number 3. Game number 3 is going to be on Orbital Shipyard. And while we got a little bit of downtime, I might as well plug shamelessly the Brood War tournament that will be casted by the great Artie McTosis and his sidekick Sir Taste a Lot, as we will be bringing you the Brood War Finals, B-Soup versus Effort. It's going to be totally sick. And if we get enough views there, by the way, that will be at the Africa Network. We might have some regular Brood War boys. Think about that. The oldest esport, the hardest game, could become a regular thing. I love StarCraft 1. I love StarCraft 2. These are the only true RTSs that are played at this level.